I'm Harper Lane. I gave birth alone on a cold, rainy night in Manhattan while my husband, a famous CEO, was holding an Instagram model on a rooftop in Miami. I didn't cry, I didn't beg. I simply sent him one message. Your daughter was born. We're fine. We don't need you. I thought that was the end. But the truth is, it was only the beginning. Because when betrayal becomes international news, when the whole world starts watching you as the wife he left behind, you have to choose, forgive, or start over without him. Before I tell you the whole story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe if you've ever had to rise above for your family. Trust me, you'll want to hear what happened next. The first contraction hit me like a freight train at 8:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember the exact time because I was staring at my phone, waiting for Julian's face to appear on FaceTime. He had promised to call after his investor dinner in Miami. I gripped the kitchen counter, breathing through the pain. False alarm, I told myself. I still had 2 weeks until my due date, but when the second wave crashed over me 15 minutes later, I knew this was real. Julian, please pick up. I whispered to his voicemail for the third time. The baby's coming. My hands shook as I scrolled through my contacts. Who else could I call? We'd moved to New York 6 months ago for Julian's company, Crestcore. I didn't know anyone here well enough to ask them to drive me to the hospital at night. My family was back in Boston, too far away. Another contraction, stronger. I doubled over, my breath coming in short gasps. I called an Uber with trembling fingers, grabbed the hospital bag I'd packed weeks ago, and waddled down to the lobby of our Upper East Side apartment building. The doorman's eyes widened when he saw me clutching my belly. Mrs. Crest, should I just help me to the car, please? I managed. The Uber driver kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror during the ride to Mount Sinai. I tried Julian again, straight to voicemail. My texts sat unread, those little delivered notifications mocking me. At the hospital, everything became a blur of bright lights and concerned faces. A nurse helped me into a wheelchair while I fumbled with insurance cards. Is your husband parking the car? She asked gently. He's flying back from a business trip, I lied, the words tasting bitter. He'll be here soon. They wheeled me to a room, helped me change into a gown. The contractions were coming faster now, each one stealing my breath. Between the waves of pain, I kept checking my phone. Nothing. What I didn't know was that 20 feet away, in the hallway, a young nurse named Melissa was live streaming her night shift to her TikTok followers. Y'all, it's crazy here tonight, she whispered to her phone. This poor woman just came in alone, in labor, and... The camera caught me being wheeled past, tears streaming down my face, clutching my phone like a lifeline. By the time they moved me to the delivery room, I'd stopped trying to call Julian. I needed to focus on breathing, on pushing, on bringing my daughter safely into the world. The doctor's voice seemed to come from far away. You're doing great, Harper. One more big push. And then a cry. Not mine, but hers. Tiny, fierce, perfect. It's a girl, someone said, and they placed her on my chest. She was so small, her skin still purple-pink, her eyes squeezed shut against the harsh hospital lights. Luna. We'd chosen the name together months ago, back when Julian still came to the appointments. I held her close, breathing in her newborn smell, and felt my heart crack open. She was here, she was real, and we were alone. Would you like to call the father? A nurse asked. Let him know she's here? I nodded, reaching for my phone with one hand while cradling Luna with the other. This time, I didn't call. I sent a single text. Your daughter was born at 11:43 p.m., 6 pounds, 4 ounces. We're both fine. Then I turned off my phone and looked down at Luna. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and I made her a promise. I've got you, baby girl, no matter what. I couldn't sleep that first night. Not because of the pain, though everything hurt, but because I kept replaying our story in my mind, looking for signs I'd missed. Julian and I met at a TEDx event in Boston 3 years ago. He was speaking about innovation in tech. I was organizing the after party. He'd walked up to me during the cocktail hour, designer suit slightly rumpled, and said, I hate these things, but your event design is the only thing making it bearable. Smooth talker from day one. We fell fast. Weekend trips to Napa Valley, sunrise walks along the Charles River, late-night conversations about changing the world. When he proposed at a vineyard, down on one knee between the grapevines, ring catching the golden hour light, I said yes without hesitation. But success changed him, or maybe it just revealed who he'd always been. Crestcore went public 8 months after our wedding. Suddenly, there were investor dinners every week, conferences every month. He missed our first anniversary for a crucial board meeting in Tokyo. Sent flowers to apologize. I forgave him. Luna stirred against my chest, making tiny newborn noises. I checked my phone, 3 a.m., and Julian had finally seen my message. Read receipts on, but no response. Classic. Then at 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Not Julian, an unknown number. A text with a link. Thought you should see this. I clicked against my better judgment. It was a gossip blog post published an hour ago. The headline made my stomach drop. Crestcore CEO Julian Crest spotted in Miami with Instagram model while wife gives birth alone. There he was, my husband, in a photo time-stamped from last night. Champagne in hand, his arm around Savannah Cole, a woman whose Instagram I'd noticed him liking a little too often. They were on some rooftop bar, the Miami skyline glittering behind them. She was wearing a dress that cost more than most people's rent, and he was looking at her the way he used to look at me. I set my phone down carefully, afraid I might throw it. Luna was still sleeping, blissfully unaware that her father had chosen a party over her arrival. The rage built slowly, starting in my chest and spreading outward until my whole body shook with it. By 6 a.m., my phone was exploding. Somehow, that TikTok video had gone viral overnight. Woman gives birth alone while husband parties was trending. My sister in Boston called, hysterical. Julian's mother texted, "Is this some kind of joke?" And from Julian himself? Still nothing. He showed up at 10 a.m. looking like he'd been dragged through hell. Good. "Harper, I can explain. Get out." I didn't even look at him, just kept my eyes on Luna. "Please, just let me," I said, "get out." This time I did look at him, and whatever he saw in my face made him step back. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so fucking sorry. I didn't know she would what? Post photos? Or did you not know I'd go into labor 2 weeks early while you were buying bottles for Instagram models?" Security arrived then. I'd pressed the call button the moment I saw him in the doorway. They escorted him out while he kept calling my name. I could hear him in the hallway arguing with nurses, demanding to see his daughter. His daughter, as if he'd earned that title by showing up late, reeking of someone else's perfume. The media circus had already begun. Photographers camped outside the hospital. #Bad Dad Julian was trending globally. Crestcore's stock price plummeted 18% by market close. My phone rang nonstop with reporters wanting my side of the story. I gave Luna my last name, Lane. The birth certificate would read Luna Harper Lane, not Luna Crest. A small victory, but mine nonetheless. That afternoon, Julian held a press conference. I watched on the hospital room TV while nursing Luna. He stood at a podium, tears streaming down his face, apologizing to me, to our daughter, to his shareholders. His PR team had coached him well. He hit all the right notes. Accountability, regret, promise to do better. My wife gave birth to our beautiful daughter while I was making the worst mistake of my life, he said, voice breaking. I failed them both. The nurses kept giving me sympathetic looks. One brought me extra pudding, patting my shoulder. But I wasn't buying Julian's performance. I'd seen him practice presentations in our living room. He could cry on cue when he needed to close a deal. They discharged us after 2 days. Julian had hired a full security team to get us past the photographers. He'd also sent a Mercedes with a car seat, a week's worth of prepared meals, and a handwritten letter I threw away unread. I moved back into our apartment because I had nowhere else to go. But I made the rules clear. He could visit Luna for 2 hours each day. He couldn't stay overnight. We would sleep in separate rooms. This was about co-parenting, nothing more. He agreed to everything, even started therapy, both individual and couples counseling. I went to the couples sessions for Luna's sake, sitting as far from him as the small office would allow. "I want to understand why," our therapist, Dr. Martinez, said during our 3rd session. "Julian, what were you looking for in Miami?" Julian stared at his hands. I don't know. The pressure of becoming a father, running the company, I was scared. So you ran, I said flatly. I ran, he agreed, like my father did. That was the first time he'd mentioned his dad in our entire relationship. The man who'd walked out when Julian was 7, leaving bruises that never quite healed. I'm not excusing it, Julian continued. But when Harper told me she was pregnant, all I could think was, what if I'm like him? What if I hurt them? So you hurt us first, I said. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. Harper, how does that make you feel? Like I married a coward, I said, and Julian flinched. But also, I took a breath. My mom raised me alone after my dad left. I swore I'd never put a child through that, and here we are. We sat with that for a while, 3 broken people in a beige room, trying to piece together something from the wreckage. 2 months later, the other shoe dropped. I was finally starting to find a rhythm. Luna sleeping in 3-hour stretches, Julian coming by every afternoon to help with feedings, when Savannah Cole did an exclusive interview with Page 6. I'm pregnant with Julian Crest's baby, the headline screamed. I read it while Luna napped in my arms. According to Savannah, she and Julian had been seeing each other for months. She had texts, photos, even some confidential Crestcore information he'd allegedly shared with her. She was keeping the baby, and she expected Julian to do right by both his children. I called Julian immediately. For once, he answered on the first ring. It's not true, he said before I could speak. Harper, I swear to God, I never... Never what? Never slept with her? Because we both know that's a lie. Silence. Then, it was one night. That night. We used protection. She's lying about the pregnancy, or it's not mine. And I'm supposed to believe you? I laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. The man who couldn't even show up for his daughter's birth? I'll demand a paternity test. I hung up. Luna was stirring, picking up on my distress. I bounced her gently, humming the lullaby my mother used to sing to me, but my mind was racing. If Savannah was telling the truth, Luna would have a half-sibling, another child Julian had created through his carelessness. That evening, I made a decision. I couldn't stay in that apartment, surrounded by memories of the life we'd planned. I found a 2-bedroom in Brooklyn, far from the Upper East Side bubble. It was smaller, older, but it was mine. Julian helped me move without argument. As we packed up Luna's nursery, the one he'd assembled himself while I directed from the rocking chair, he said quietly, I'm resigning as CEO. I looked up, surprised. The board's forcing you out? No, I'm choosing to step down. The FBI is investigating the insider information Savannah claims I gave her. Even if I'm cleared, the damage is done, and maybe... He taped up a box of Luna's clothes. Maybe it's time I figured out who I am when I'm not running a company. The FBI investigation made everything worse. They subpoenaed our text messages, looking for evidence that Julian had shared trade secrets. I had to hire my own lawyer, sit through depositions where they asked about our dinner conversations, our pillow talk. Did your husband ever discuss the upcoming Meridian acquisition with you? The federal agent asked. My husband didn't discuss much of anything with me, I replied. That was the problem. The media painted me as either a scorned wife out for revenge or a gold digger who'd known all along. Strangers on the internet debated whether I'd been naive or complicit. Someone leaked my new Brooklyn address. I had to move again. Through it all, Julian kept showing up for Luna. 2 hours every day, without fail. He'd sing to her, read board books, change diapers with surprising competence. Sometimes I'd watch from the doorway, seeing glimpses of the man I'd fallen in love with. During the court hearing, when the prosecutor presented Savannah's evidence, Julian's lawyer systematically destroyed it. The texts were fabricated, the timestamps manipulated. Savannah had created an elaborate fiction, probably hoping for a payout. The pregnancy claim disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. No medical records, no proof. Mr. Crest shared no confidential information. The judge ruled. Case dismissed. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Julian tried to shield me, but I pushed past him, Luna strapped to my chest in a carrier. I have one thing to say, I told the cameras. This is not about a marriage or a scandal. This is about a child who deserves peace. Now please, leave us alone. That night, Julian texted, Thank you for being there today. I didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. A year passed. Then two. I built a life in Brooklyn, joined a single mother's support group, started consulting for nonprofits who needed event planning. Luna grew from a tiny newborn into a stubborn toddler with her father's eyes and my determination. Julian never missed his time with her. He'd officially stepped down as CEO, taking a teaching position at Columbia instead. Smaller salary, smaller ego. He lived in a modest apartment 10 blocks from us, close enough to be present, but far enough to give me space. We found our rhythm. Handoffs at the playground, brief texts about Luna's needs. Occasionally, when she was sick, we'd sit together in urgent care, united in our worry. One evening, after Luna's second birthday party, a small affair in Prospect Park, I found an envelope in her diaper bag. My name was written on it in Julian's handwriting. I waited until Luna was asleep to open it. "Harper," it began. "I'm writing this because there are things I need to say, but no right to speak them aloud. I destroyed us. I know that. I broke your trust in the deepest possible way, at the moment when you needed me most. I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know, if you ever believe I'm worthy of a second chance, I'll be waiting, not to reclaim the past, that's gone, but to build something real. Something based on who we are now, not who we pretended to be. You've become extraordinary, Harper. Watching you raise Luna, seeing your strength, it's humbling. I'm in awe of you. I'm trying to become someone worthy of being in her life. Maybe someday, yours too. But even if that day never comes, know that I'm grateful. For her, for the time we had, for the lesson you taught me about what love really means." "Jay," I cried then. Not from heartbreak or rage, but from something more complicated. Grief for what we'd lost, pride in what I'd survived, and maybe, buried deep, a seed of something that might have been hope. 3 years after that night alone in Mount Sinai, I stood on the TED Talk stage, looking out at a sea of faces. "Redefining Strength for Mothers" was the title of my talk. Strength, I began, isn't about having it all together. It's about falling apart and choosing to rebuild. It's about asking for help when you've been taught to go it alone. In the front row, I could see Julian holding Luna on his lap. She was wearing her favorite dinosaur dress, squirming with 3-year-old energy. He whispered something in her ear, probably bribing her with goldfish crackers to sit still. I talked about that night in the hospital, about the viral video that changed everything, about learning to co-parent with someone who'd broken your heart, about choosing to focus on healing rather than hatred. "My daughter has a father who shows up now," I said. "Every Sunday, he makes her pancakes in the shape of butterflies. They have dance parties in his kitchen. He's teaching her to code using a toddler-friendly app he designed just for her. He's not the man who missed her birth. He's the man who chose to change." After the talk, people crowded around with questions. One woman, cradling her own baby, asked quietly, "Do you still love him?" I glanced at Julian, who was now chasing Luna around the lobby, both of them laughing. He'd gained some weight, lost some of the sharp edges that came with corporate stress. He looked content. "I love who he's becoming," I answered honestly. "But I love who I've become even more." We were never going to be a traditional family. There would be no reunion, no dramatic reconciliation. But we'd built something else. A new kind of family, held together not by law or convention, but by choice. Every day we chose to show up for Luna. We chose to be kind in our interactions. We chose to model for her what respect looked like, even after trust had been shattered. Later that evening, after bedtime stories and bath time battles, Julian and I sat on my front steps while Luna slept upstairs. It was something we'd started doing, these quiet moments of adult conversation after the chaos of toddler energy. "The talk was beautiful," he said. "You didn't have to be so generous about me." I wasn't being generous. I was being honest. "You've done the work, Julian. That matters." He nodded, looking out at the Brooklyn street. "I've been thinking about moving to Boston," he said suddenly. "Columbia offered me a research position there. I wanted to ask you first. I know you've talked about moving back, being closer to your family." I studied him. "You'd do that? Leave New York?" "Luna should know her grandparents. Your sister's kids. She should have more than just this." He gestured between us. This isn't so bad, I said softly. This is actually pretty good. He smiled. That real smile I remembered from our early days. Yeah, it is. Here we sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd loved and lost and found a different way forward. Tomorrow, Luna would wake up demanding butterfly pancakes. Julian would come over, make a mess of my kitchen, sing off-key to make her giggle. I'd have coffee ready, the kind he liked, even though we weren't together. Daddy comes every Sunday and makes pancakes, Luna had told her preschool class last week. That's our tradition. It wasn't the life I'd imagined when I walked down that aisle in white, but it was real, and it was ours, built from the ashes of what we'd burned down. And maybe that made it stronger. This family forged not from fairy tales, but from showing up day after day, choosing to do better than the day before. As Julian stood to leave, he paused. Thank you, Harper, for letting me be her father, for giving me the chance to prove I could be better. Everyone deserves the chance to grow, I said. Even disappointing husbands who miss the big moments. Especially those, he agreed, and we both smiled. Not at what we'd lost, but at what we'd managed to save. Walking back inside, I checked on Luna one more time. She was sprawled across her toddler bed, one arm flung over her stuffed elephant, completely at peace. She'd never known a home with both parents under one roof, but she knew she was loved. Fiercely. By both of us. Just not in the way I'd once thought love had to look, and that, I realized, was enough. More than enough. It was everything.